Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift, uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die. Welcome. My name is Reverend Emily Gage. My pronouns are she and her. I'm one of the ministers here at Unity Temple Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I'm glad to be sharing this time with you. We are here this afternoon to celebrate the life and mourn the loss of Hannah Louise Voigt. Hannah died on March 7th at the age of 87 from complications from a chronic lung condition. She was at home and surrounded by family. In her lifetime, Hannah was so many things to so many different people: a daughter, a friend, a wife, a mom, a grandmother, and always both a musician and a teacher. There is no doubt that she touched thousands of lives directly with her presence and teaching and musicianship. And then so many of us have passed on what Hannah brought us into the world as well. Her gifts then have been immeasurable. How lucky are we to have been in her circle? The words of the poem by Mary Elizabeth Fry and printed in the order of service feel like they capture both the practical and deeply loving essence of Hannah. They capture her legacy. I feel like she would want us to remember that she has left us with her love, her presence, her lessons, her music, and that they are in the 1,000 winds that blow, in the sunlight on ripened grain, and in the soft stars that shine at night. It is our tradition in Unitarian Universalism and here at Unity Temple that we light a chalice at the beginning of our services to mark our time together as sacred. We light our chalice this afternoon in honor of the gift of Hannah Voigt's life, for all of the stories and memories and love we shared and will continue to be with us in all of our days to come. Hannah Louise Wilkins was born on August 14th, 1937, to Catherine and Nelson Wilkins in Gloversville, New York. We are told she began piano at an early age, and indeed, it's hard not to imagine a tiny Hannah already hard at work at the keyboard, even before her hands could span an octave. She had perfect pitch and could play by ear. This might have been enough for any musician, but Hannah was a voracious learner from the beginning. She followed her musical passion into understanding everything about a musical piece, from the theory, the intent, the composer, the best way to play it, and so on and so forth. She got her bachelor's degree in music education from SUNY Potsdam in New York and her master's of music and piano and music literature from the Eastman School of Music in Rochester, New York. As her skills expanded, she accompanied choirs, performed in recitals, and began teaching. I love this picture on the orders of service of Hannah sitting at the piano. This captures her so well, so clearly at home right there on the piano bench. I know the sunlight is illuminating her, but I also see her quiet joy, the incredible rightness of a person who knows their calling, the beauty of that in and of itself, coupled with the beauty of whatever it was she was playing at that particular moment. It was through music that Hannah met her first husband, Harry Voigt. She was playing cocktail piano at the Aspen Music Festival in 1962. They married a year later and moved to Oak Park, where Hannah spent the rest of her life. She was a devoted mother to Laura and Derek, whom you will hear from later in the service, and much later, a devoted grandmother to her grandchildren. Hannah's love shone brightly, sending its beams out to her family, to friends, to students, and through those who heard her play. After Harry died in 2007, Hannah also met her second husband through music, Bert Anderson. Bert, a tenor, and Hannah, as his accompanist, started making music together and then built a life together, marrying in 2015. You'll hear from Bert later as well. Being no exception to this trend, I met Hannah through her musical appearances here with Bert at Unity Temple in the Spring Music Festival. And I also came to know her as a member of Unity Temple. Her vibrancy and curiosity meant she was always engaged as I looked out from my perspective here. I loved talking with her, enjoyed the twinkle in her eye that so often seemed present, and appreciated her kindness and compassion. Still, though I was never her student, she had a no-nonsense disciplined air about her, which no doubt was present for her students. Music has a way of weaving and building community, and when you're a musician, it's part of how your life is defined, or at least it was so for Hannah's life. I got to adding up the number of piano students she must have taught over the decades. There's a giant cohort of shared experience right there. And then there's the infinite number of audiences at all the recitals and concerts that heard her play. And then there's the congregation at Fair Oaks Presbyterian who heard her play the organ every week for 50 years. And for Hannah, music was always intertwined with education and learning. So when we're reflecting on her life, there's also the teachers she connected with and mentored and helped formally and informally. Hannah was very involved with the Chicago Area Music Teachers Association, which named her CAMTA Teacher of the Year in 2021, and she would have been 83 or so then. She was then, as she did up until the end, still teaching. In the last years where Bert and Hannah were living at Brookdale Senior Living, they hosted weekly sing-alongs. I know that that list is much longer than what I have said. And I can't tell you how many people who mentioned to me that Hannah touched them or supported them in some way. What a gift to have been part of a world with Hannah's generous and loving spirit. Hannah had a couple but very strong ideas about what she wanted to have at her memorial service. And one of these was this Rachmaninoff piece sung by one of her favorite students, Henry Griffin, accompanied by Laura Voigt, Hannah's daughter, who also played our opening music. We're going to hear a remembrance from Henry Griffin, who was Hannah's student for 13 years.
Good afternoon. Hannah played for me the last time I performed that Rachmaninoff vocalise, and I was 12 years old, and I probably sang it about 2 octaves higher than that. It's a combination of me being a baritone now and a little bit of laryngitis today. Like so many of us, I met her by starting piano studies with her when I was just barely 6 years old in the summer of 2006, freshly out of kindergarten. At this point, Hannah was living at 615 North Elmwood and seemingly taught every possible young piano student within a 10-block radius. Piano parties were a semi-monthly affair when 20 or so of us students and their devoted tiger mommies would cram into Hannah's den in her house on Elmwood Avenue to share in our burgeoning pianistic delights. I distinctly remember seeing the hodgepodge array of chairs in her living room, and they seemingly sprouted from all corners of Hannah's house. And as cliche as it sounds, I can still smell the freshly baked chocolate chip cookies that would be waiting for us after those piano parties. And I'm sorry to say, Hannah, when I was in elementary school, those cookies were definitely my favorite part of the piano parties. Sorry. Those piano parties were a microcosm of Hannah's pedagogical brilliance. Every single time we would play for each other, I can remember her beaming with pride at her students' progress and accomplishments. The piano parties also displayed her incredible wisdom. One example of this wisdom I can remember is that when one of us students might have been struggling with a memory slip or a technical passage that was difficult, either in our lessons or in these piano parties, Hannah would know exactly when to let us take the reins and figure it out for ourselves, and when to graciously step in and lend a helping hand. Furthermore, on multiple occasions, she would join her students at the piano for jazzy four-hands arrangements. More often than not, these were arranged by a pair of musicians who must be a fan favorite with this particular crowd of piano students and parents here today, Faber and Faber. Throughout my high school years, as I started to give solo recitals at Fair Oaks Presbyterian Church, my friendship with Hannah grew closer, as she was not only my piano teacher, but my collaborative partner for these concerts. On one particular recital, a friend of mine and I were singing a duet by Rossini from the opera Don Pasquale. It was a patter duet, and we really hammed it up on stage, and I unknowingly bumped into the piano in the process of singing this. Now, if you knew Hannah, you know she was not one to mince words. The first thing she said to me after this particular recital was, "During that Rossini, why did you shove the piano, Henry?" I, of course, was mortified. During my visits with her all the way up to this year, she would frequently tease me about this moment. Speaking of my visits with her, during my final visit with Hannah this February, I wanted to play for her, of course. I sat down at her piano in her apartment at Brookdale and played Mozart's Rondo in D. By some miracle, I got through the piece, and when I finished up, her reaction was quintessential Hannah Voigt. She burst out laughing. Hannah was one of the rare people I know who prized humor above almost all other musical characteristics. This perhaps explains her love for both Mozart and for Gilbert and Sullivan. And let me be clear in saying this, the fact that I made her laugh by playing Mozart was surely one of the most gratifying moments of my musical life. Thank you, Hannah, for teaching me how to find the depth, character, joy, and most importantly, the humor in music making. You changed my life.
We're going to hear a remembrance from Hannah's son, Derek.
Well, Henry, I don't know how I'm going to follow that one up. I can't say that I'm a big vocabularist, if that's a word, but you hit the word of the day when you said pedagogical. So thank you for that. And it's also good to know that I wrote my speech, and there's a decent amount in it, and I can't memorize it, and I decided I'm not going to try to memorize it. But I didn't check with the speakers before me, but I think my comments about Hannah are kind of aligned with them, so that's good. So first of all, welcome family and friends, and thank you all for coming today. I am Hannah's son, Derek Voigt, and my extended family is here today, so I want to acknowledge them. So my sister Laura, thank you for coming. Laura's wonderful daughter and my niece Madeline is unable to be here today in person, but she's here in spirit. My wife Catherine, I was shoving the piano there, I think, when I did that, by the way. My wife Catherine is here. My daughters Ashley, Marissa, and Celia. And of course, Hannah's partner and husband, Bert Anderson. And his wonderful family, including children Ellen, Julia, Brian, and their extended families. So thank you, Anderson family, for being here today. I would also like to extend a special thank you to Henry for traveling here and contributing to the service today, and it's wonderful to meet you. As we celebrate Hannah's life today, I wanted to first share a little bit about my life experience with her as her son. She was a devoted daughter, sister, wife, mother, and grandfather. Some of my favorite memories of my mom include the following: taking me around Oak Park for bike rides when I was just a little bit shorter than I am now, in the back seat of her bike. We should have been wearing a helmet, Mom. And really enlightening me to this broad, exciting world around me for the first time. Reading books to me and my sister and telling us stories before bed each night, helping to develop our imaginations. Along with my father, Harry Voigt, taking me to swim classes at the Oak Park YMCA, which has played a key role in my physical and mental well-being throughout my life, and I have a passion for swimming to this day. Providing positive support to me and my sister Laura as we navigated the usual assortment of challenges from early adolescence to high school to college and into adulthood. Warmly welcoming my wife Catherine into our family in 1992. For the past 28 years, seeing Hannah develop warm, loving, and supportive relationships with her granddaughters, again, my three daughters, Ashley, Marissa, and Celia, and my niece and Laura's daughter, Madeline. Another memory after the passing of my father, Harry, seeing Hannah continue to embrace life to its fullest, staying mentally, socially, and physically active and engaged in a multitude of activities, and then eventually finding love again with her partner and husband, Bert Anderson. What a joy it was to have Hannah and Bert perform Mr. Cellophane and many other songs for our family at their condo in Oak Park and at our home in Glen Ellen. Bert, Laura, and I are so incredibly appreciative of the deep, loving partnership you had with Hannah. Finally, during the past few months of Hannah's life, I gained a much deeper appreciation for the friendship and bond that she had with my sister Laura, especially with regards to their mutual love of music and Hannah's loving care for Laura's daughter, Madeline. All right, that's the family side and me being the son. Of course, many of you, if not most of you, know Hannah through music, and we've talked about that a little bit so far. The details of her musical career were captured beautifully. Thank you, Reverend Emily. And thank you to my sister Laura for the beautiful obituary that she wrote. So I'm not going to speak to those details here, but I did want to share some of my thoughts about Hannah and music. Music was her lifelong passion. It brought her and those around her tremendous joy. If any of you have seen the expressions on her face when she was playing the piano or the organ, you know exactly what I mean. How absolutely wonderful it was that Hannah loved music to the core of her being. She was a lifelong student, teacher, and leader in the community, in the musical community, continuously learning and sharing knowledge. She always pursued the best in herself, and she had expected the same from those she collaborated with, Henry, be it her students or her professional partners. And she always did so with that Hannah infectious determination and enthusiasm. She wanted the expression of music to be as beautiful, moving, and inspirational as it could be. She was truly, what I like to say, a master of her craft, which is what we should all aspire to in our life's work. In closing, Hannah's legacy in my mind is that she touched so many lives in so many positive ways, and I can't think of a better impact that a human being can have in this life. And I have liked to say many times over the past few weeks, that was Hannah. So thank you all again very much for coming today. It means a lot to me and my family that we share this celebration of her life with all of you. We love you, Mom.
This musical piece that we're going to hear was especially chosen by Bert for our glorious congregational choir to sing. The lyrics are the poem that is in your order of service. We're going to hear a remembrance from Marty Swisher, longtime friend, fellow musician, and Unity Temple music director.
Why was Hannah Voigt such a remarkable teacher? She was a gifted artist with a fine education, insatiable interest in learning, a strong work ethic, and set a high standard to which she insisted every student reach for. She loved musical collaboration, but she also glowed as a soloist in the spotlight. Hannah's love of teaching was reflected in the positive encouragement and belief in every student that she taught and in every coaching that she led. Her presence was palpable. But there was more, so much more, and I call it emotional resonance. When others unconsciously respond to the emotional energy someone exudes. Boy, she had enormous energy, and she inspired others to generate it as well. Her presence was undeniable. She was radiant when she taught, and with lifted eyebrows and with a smile that wouldn't quit. She was dedicated to her students, and she loved her life, and she set a standard for living to which we should all aspire. I just wanted to add that through a very, very dear and important friend of mine, Christine Conrad, I started to get to know Hannah. And it wasn't that long ago, maybe 12, 13 years ago. And we loved to talk about music. You've heard a lot about music, but she also sometimes liked to dish the dirt. She was never malicious or negative. She really wasn't. But she loved to hear about the nitty-gritty. She made great shrimp scampi, and I'll miss her very much.
Laura's going to share another piano piece with us. Laura's going to share remembrance with us as well.
So, hello, thank you everyone for coming. We all appreciate it so much. So originally I was going to speak, and then I was not going to speak, and now apparently I'm going to speak. So we'll see how that goes. I wanted to start by reading a letter, a card that, okay, so this is why I was not going to speak. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, it was written to my mom when she was in hospice care by a student of hers who graduated from high school maybe, 6 or 7 years ago, something like that. Oh, goodness. Elizabeth Perkins, a beloved and accomplished student of my mom's. Hannah, thank you for giving me the priceless gift of a love for music. You encouraged me and pushed me in my youth, which made me into the person I am today. I have you and music to thank for my work ethic and confidence. And I am just one of the many, many lives you touch. I hope you know how greatly we love you, even from far away. I will never forget the many afternoons and evenings we shared at your house on Elmwood, and then on Grove, and the piano parties, and AIM, which is a testing program. All of it was meaningful and formative. My love to you and to Bert, Elizabeth. So I thought that was beautifully said and pretty much captures who my mom was as a teacher. Sorry. I wanted to say that one of my favorite memories from childhood was mentioned by Derek briefly, which was my mom used to make up stories for us on the fly, bedtime stories. They were amazing. And it was like a serial. So you have one installment the first night, and the next one installment the next night. What's going to happen to, okay, Thready. Thready was a spool of thread. Can you imagine? She made up a serial story about a spool of thread, and I literally was like, what's going to happen tomorrow with Thready? And, you know, Thready was sometimes trapped in the trunk of the car with all the other spools of thread, and then other times, Thready was like jauntily stepping up onto a bus to go where he needed to go, wherever that was. And so anyway, but one of the things I loved about this was that she would sit on the floor between our bedrooms, exactly halfway between the doorway to my room and the doorway to Derek's room. And that was just how she was. And I don't know, that just really struck me. And then another thing of riding on the back of the bicycle, my mom's gold Schwinn Breeze. And gold was not her color. I don't know why she bought that color of a bike, but anyway, so we would, sit in the back, no helmets, and just ride, she'd left leg, right leg, and we'd be going back and forth like this, and it was amazing. I don't know why, just like Derek said, seeing the world, feeling sort of safe and unsafe at the same time, which maybe that was a good thing, I don't know. And a couple other things when she was in hospice. When I came to the hospital to visit her after she had made her decision to be in hospice, one of the first things, she was dealing with a lot of practical matters, but one of the first things she said to me is, "What are you reading?" And I said, "Well, I haven't been reading much lately, but I've been doing a lot of books on tape." And so I told her about what I was listening to. And let's see what else. Oh, and then another question that came pretty quickly after that. What are you knitting? Because I've recently taken up knitting. So that was nice. A couple other things I wanted to say is the way she was with Madeline was pretty amazing. Most of you know that I have a daughter, a 28-year-old daughter with special needs. She's medically complex. My mom always got right in there with Madeline in an unassuming way, loving way. But the amazing thing about my mom with Madeline was how creative she was with her. ideas that she would come up with of things to do with her when she was there for an hour, and I was trying to get things done, and I'd be like, God, why didn't I think of doing that, with Madeline? Because it can be hard to figure out how to keep her occupied. An example that might not seem that great to anybody, but my mom liked to play solitaire on her phone, and she got Madeline into that, which was pretty cool to see my daughter going, okay, like this on my mom's phone. Great idea, Mom, never thought of that. And then another thing she did was she taught Madeline about quarter notes and eighth notes in music with one of the traditional methods of ta and titi, but she also used family names to try to educate her about rhythms. So Uncle Derek was 4 eighth notes in a row. And let's see, Mommy was 2 eighth notes. What was another one? There was one that was quarter note and 2 eighth notes. I can't remember what it was. And I found that one time, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, this little paper where she had written it all out. And so that's sort of like the intersection of her teaching, which just seemed to come out of her naturally, and her love for her family, and then also her high standards in a way, because it's like Madeline has so many challenges, and in certain ways Madeline is pretty amazing. Like, she remembers the order of tracks on a record 5 years after hearing the record, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, to try to get Madeline to understand quarters and eighth notes was pretty cool of her, to try to have Madeline rise to that standard. I guess I don't really have anything else to add. This was not planned that I would speak, so I don't really have a good formal ending, other than to say, like Derek said, we love you, Mom, and we'll miss you a lot. Thank you.
We're going to have a remembrance from Hannah's beloved husband, Bert, and I just want to say it's been a blessing to me to be witness to such a grand later in life love story as Hannah and Bert's.
I look around this sanctuary filled full of people, some who have come a long distance. And I also think of the wonderful musicians who contributed to this memorial. And I want to thank you all. And I'm sure Hannah would have thanked you as well. Now, you've heard a lot about Hannah's intelligence, about Hannah's great skill as a musician, her being an amazing pianist, and also a great teacher. Now, all of these things are important, and I think they're wonderful. I agree with all of them. But that's not the way I think of Hannah. I think of Hannah as a person. She and I were very different, but somehow we managed to fit like a hand in a glove. And I used to be very eager to be with her, and especially when I was away, would come into the apartment anxious to talk to her, ask her some questions, decide whether we were going to watch TV or read a book. Those seem like little things, but they're important. They're important. Now I come into the apartment and there's nothing. Nothing. I'm not sure I'll ever get used to that. I almost hope I don't. Now, Hannah didn't always live by the rules. She should have known that the husband dies first, and especially if the husband is older. Now, I retired about 25 years ago, and Hannah never retired. Even in the last months of her life, when she was getting progressively weaker, she continued her piano lessons and even gave a piano lesson about 1 week before she died. Now, what motivated her? The motivation was primarily her students that she loved intensely. She would look forward to all of her lessons and was happy about them whenever they were finished. Now, I was fortunate in being in an adjacent room where I could hear most of what was going on. I was trying to read, but I really enjoyed listening to the piano lesson. She wasn't a pushover. She always asked the student to be sure that they practiced, be sure that they learned their lessons, they did the proper fingering, and most of them did that with pleasure. Now, I remember on a couple of occasions when one of her students was playing and finished a piece, and Hannah said, "You've done a marvelous job. You played everything perfectly. Fingering was right. You memorized the piece." And of course, the students were feeling pretty good at this time. And then she said, "You left something out. You didn't show any love, any passion, any emotion." Now, music that is technically correct but lacks those emotions can be a very dry experience. You might enjoy sort of listening to it, but never as much as when the passion is there. Now, she asked them to play the piano, the recital again, the piece that she was playing. And it was amazing how most of the time the piece was much better, and I think that was an important part of her talent, not only the mechanism of teaching, but the love of playing the piano and how that contributed to the love of music. Now, Hannah and I showed our love for one another a number of different ways. But one that came to mind, or comes to mind, is at nighttime, we would crawl in bed and hug and kiss. And this happened even when we'd had a minor argument before. We never had any major arguments, but There were occasionally some. And after we hugged and kissed, that argument disappeared. Now, we did this every night, not once a week, not twice a month, but every evening when we went to bed. The only exception was the last few days of her life, when she lacked the strength to do it. Hannah, I love you intensely, and I'll never get over your loss.
Louis Dubernier wrote, "It is not possible to light a candle that doesn't drip, and it is not possible to love and never weep." And so it is that life calls us to love one another deeply and well and fully, and then also find that loss is part of that. It is just as it is in Mary Oliver's poem in Blackwater Woods. To live in this world, you must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends upon it, and when the time comes, to let it go, to let it go. We gather this afternoon with a mixture of emotions, with joy and sorrow, with sadness and gratitude. There is joy in the life that we shared with Hannah. There is joy in the fact that she lived 87 gloriously full years. She went out on her own terms. And yet, still, of course, there is sadness. There's sadness because there's always sadness when someone we love and cared for has died. We make meaning by marking death in a service like this. We take comfort in being together. In times like these, we need one another in empathy and consolation, in courage and wisdom to share our stories and sadness and gratitude. As we sit together in this shared time, may our hearts be filled with gratitude for the gift of Hannah Voigt's life and all that she meant to us. May we know that we are not alone but connected in community. May we feel our memories and loves and stories enfolding us and comforting us in our grief. Another thing that Hannah was absolutely sure she wanted in her memorial service was this particular music selection that we're going to hear, Nimrod from the Enigma Variations by Elgar. We have it only on audio, and we will not be able to put it in the live stream / recording because of copyright, but I invite you to take this time to give thanks and reflect on Hannah's life as we listen. to join us in Unity House across the foyer for a reception. These words are from Tracy Barrett Welser. Our grief is a holy thing. It is proof that another life touched ours in a profound way. It is the mark of love, the mark of connection, and the mark of a life well lived. We will mourn, we will cry, we will miss Hannah. Time will move on, and we may not hurt like we hurt now, but then a thought or a bit of music or a smell will remind us of her, and it will all come back. These moments, too, are holy. They're reminders of that connection that will never fully go away. It's important to hold on to that connection because it is through these memories that Hannah stays with us. In our memories of her, that love and connection stay alive, and with it, part of Hannah. We shared some of those memories today. Hold on to them. Tell the stories that make you smile, the stories that make you laugh. Share the memories with people who knew her and those who didn't. May they remind you of the beauty of Hannah's life, of her passion and her connection to us. And may it bring you peace on this day. Our closing music is performed by the Music Makers String Quartet.
can walk here.